Hi, Susan Robinson, owner and creator of Vintage Restore and More. Today we're going to do a faux finish that will look like a terracotta pot that's been out in the sun and aged in the elements. We'll be using some paint to create like this mossy kind of finish that has like a powdery chalkboard kind of feel to it. So we're using some Iron Orchid Designs molds. You'll see one of the little transfers on this one down here. I hope you guys enjoy, and if you like, please give us a thumbs up and a subscribe and a follow. Thank you so much for your support, and we'll see you real soon. Bye. Hey guys, here's our little shopping list. If you're needing supplies, we've got most of it in stock, but you can visit us at www.vintagerestoremore.com. We would really appreciate your business. So getting started, this first little project I just want to talk about, it's actually a metal picture. And one of the things that I did do is I used some bonding, like spray bonding adhesive on it, and that just helps the paint stick. But I did not add that onto the shopping list. You know, not knowing what you guys are going to do, if you need to do something that's a slippery surface, that definitely helps. And it's a quick fix. It doesn't take a long time to dry. So I'm taking some clay and I'm rolling it out really thin. I had made this little scalloped edge pattern within the Canva program that I use. And so I'm just going to put that up against it with an X-Acto knife and trim it out so that it can go around the edge of this little terracotta pot. If anybody needs this pattern, please just send me your email, or yeah, send me your email, and then we will get that out to you. And you can even message on Facebook if I'm not sure what the privacy settings are, if you can privately send it within YouTube. I'm so new to this, so I'm trying to get used to it. But this is kind of a slow go. And then when I get to the end, I need to have a straight edge to cut the other side of it. So I think I'm going after a ruler right now. I end up having to extend this a little bit. It wasn't long enough. So I place this against the pot just to kind of get an idea of how much more I need. And I'm sorry it's out of frame. Again, I'm still trying to get used to all the things that I need to be watching when I'm doing this. So I'm just going to roll out another section. It didn't even need the full size of it, so. I slowed this part down just so that you kind of get a good look at it. The video will speed back up once we get through this little hiccup. If you don't have an X-Acto knife, I'm sure you could use like a little kitchen paring knife if you have one. So I think right there I'm just going to cut the back of it to get that edge straight again. And then we just glue that on with the Titebond Quick and Thick. I'm going around and just sort of smoothing the edges on these. So we're just going to glue this around the top edge. Use a towel to keep it steady. And the second piece goes on. And I do believe that I actually, when I set this down, I set it down upside down so it doesn't slide. Quick and Thick is really good because it holds faster, but it will slide a little bit unless you tape it in place. So for this, I just laid it on its top side so that it would only slide down and not the other direction. And there we go. That's about it with that one. So the next one we're going to take and use conservatory labels and primitive molds. No, actually I think I use olive crust, I'm sorry. For this next one we're going to use olive crust and conservatory labels. No. So for this next one we're going to use olive crust and primitive molds. And moving right along, we've got it in high gear now. Just glue it in place. Put the little birds on. And I decided to trim out the top and the bottom with that little thin trim that's on that one. I end up smushing it though when I go to paint it, so I end up doing something a little bit different with it. So like I said, the picture I sprayed with that bonding adhesive, I think it's made by Rust-Oleum. A quick spray with that and you can paint it within a half hour. And I'm using a little bit of the Dixie Belle Terracotta paint. And these will take 2 coats to get full coverage. So one of the things that ends up happening here is I end up somehow squishing the bottom part of it, probably when I lean it sideways to paint it. Yeah, see, I notice it here, and I start taking my thumb and my first finger and just kind of squishing it down and leaving scallops on it. And of course I have to paint it a little bit more because this clay starts to show. But in the end, I kind of like it. So the only thing is it's going to be fragile. So I don't know if I necessarily would do this and put it in a booth because it probably would get broken. People tend to pick things up. But if you did this for your own home and kept it inside. One of the other things that I probably should mention is with terracotta pots, with them being so porous, you really need to put a liner inside of it because anything that you put on it, especially air dry clay, it's going to re-wet it and it's going to reactivate it. So this is not something that you want to put a live plant in unless you've got something in it that's going to protect it, like the little plastic inner liners. So just a heads up with that. A lot of people don't know that, and then they're upset when they try to put a plant and water it, and it ends up ruining it. I was looking for inspiration at Pottery Barn. I had done like a Google search of terracotta pots, aged terracotta pots or something like that. And Pottery Barn had a really pretty picture come up that really inspired me, and it had the scalloped edges on it. And that little pot was $39 just for a small terracotta pot. And these little guys were 95 cents each at Hobby Lobby, so. And I really think that they'd be really cute hostess gifts, or like say like for a shower, they could be the centerpieces. There you can see a little bit better what I'm doing with it. So we let these dry, and then we're going to move on to the next step, which is the whitewash. So what we want to do is we're going to take some of the drop cloth paint, it's called, by Dixie Belle, and we put a little bit of that into a cup with some water to thin it down. You see how small amount that I use there. I don't really measure it. But I did realize, like, after I had put it on, I felt like it was too thin on the first piece, and I added more to it when I did the second piece. So really, you just, you take it and you wipe it on, and then you kind of wipe it off. And it's wet, so it's going to come back pretty easily. You have time to work with it. You can't leave it for a long time. Like, you can't walk away from it, but, you have plenty of time to wipe back if you keep moving with it, so. Make sure you get the inside of the lids, and at least on the pots, like the top, like the corner, if you come around the corner of the interior, you're going to probably be putting stuff in it, so I don't waste my time really doing too much on the inside of them, unless I'm selling them as is, so. As you can see, I'm just wiping back with a microfiber cloth. And I add a little bit more paint to it because, like I said, I felt like it was too thin. And you can see the difference in the translucity there. And you can spray this with water. That's what those continuous mist bottles are good for. So if you feel like it's still if it's too thick at this point, you can wet it a little bit and it'll thin it down. So the next part that we're going to do is, well, first of all, you need to let these dry really good. I'm hitting them with a hair dryer. But the next step, we're going to use Debbie's DIY Gypsy Green paint. And I had bought this a while ago, so it's kind of thick. So I actually just use the lid and kind of water it down. I started with a small paintbrush and realized quickly that I want to get a flat paintbrush. So you'll see I switch over. And I'm just kind of like stippling it on the edges to start with, and where it would look like where moss would settle naturally on it. And it would be like at the bottom where it drips and hits like the, you know, the ground, and also like around the top edges and any place where you've got any recessed areas. And I spray it with water to let that green paint kind of drip down, and blend it out a little bit with my finger. And you're going to end up probably taking too much off when you start. It's just kind of a little bit of a learning curve, but you've got time to work with it. You know, it's not like you're going to paint it on and you can't get it off because you've got a wet surface. So don't be afraid to do this. It's fun. And again, like I said, if it doesn't work out, you just paint over and start again. It's not a big deal. Just be patient with it and you'll get it. And you'll see like this one has more detail on it, so I go a little bit heavier on it. This picture is one that I had them and I sold them for retail in the store, but they didn't sell, so I ended up taking them all and redoing them. But to any project you could use this on, any type of like vessel. Now I did add on the picture one of the transfers from traditional pots, I think it's called, or classic pots. I always forget. We let it dry, and then I end up using, for my floral, instead of paying a lot of money for like the floral foam because it gets expensive, I actually hit up the furniture stores and they've got big pieces of styrofoam that you can use for projects like this that you can get for free. So try to source those things that you don't need to pay a lot of money for at places like that you wouldn't think of normally. Give them a good dry, and then you can get them all dolled up with whatever floral you like. And that's it. That's the end product. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to visit our shop again, it's vintagerestoremore.com, and we will see you again real soon. Thank you.